Hello there, Dan the Weatherman here. Hey, welcome to my weather show. This is the global edition. Going to look at all things across the globe. And once again, it's another week where we're talking about the extremes. Things that have happened, things that are going on, and things that will happen. The atmosphere, the whole planet, things are really just flexing as far as a very, very active jet stream and those contrasts of warm and cold. Big news this week, of course, we move to Italy, northeastern parts of Italy, to the Dolomites, and of course the Marmolada glacier that just literally collapsed. And when you talk about collapsing, you take the whole edge of it and it's not like just a little bit of melt. This thing, just the whole piece just broke away because of warm temperatures. Temperatures across parts of the extreme high altitudes of the Alps have been running anywhere from 10 degrees, 15 degrees, well above where they should be. Snow already melted. That destabilizes. There was less snow over the past winter, and it just creates that perfect storm for these things to collapse. A real warning sign as far as what is going on. We continue to see the warmth across the planet in many, many places, even down south through the winter. These are temperatures, some maximum temperatures over the course of the week. Couple of areas that are really interesting. Parts of Siberia, parts of northern Europe, and also the high Arctic of Canada, wherever you see some of those oranges and reds. And I'm going to zoom into one. Northern parts of Siberia, probably can just pick out there. Some of these 36 degrees, that's going up into northern parts of Siberia. They should only be sort of 15 to 20 degrees for normal. 36 degrees. Those are some daytime highs with that warmth. So these sorts of places, just off the scale. And when I normally show these temperature anomaly maps, you always see much more red, or temperatures much warmer than normal across these higher places. That rusty color there, Canadian Arctic, parts of Siberia, that just continues because the way the jet stream is moving, it's surging the warm air north. Now let's run through the week and see what happens. Put your eyes to that little red blob there over the Canadian Arctic. It just sits there, warmer than normal by 15, 20 degrees or more. Same sort of thing across the extreme northern parts of Russia there. A couple of warm spots by the end of the week. It's going to warm up again across parts of Europe. And you're saying, well, it's already been warm. Yes, but there's going to be another surge. Same thing across parts of the US. There'll be another surge of warmer weather. Contrast that, we know it's winter in the southern hemisphere. Quite a good surge of some cold moving into parts of South America. Places like Buenos Aires, Montevideo could see single figure highs as a real good cold surge works through. A bit of a warm up there to Western Australia, but a complete opposite down to the far south and eastern New Zealand with some real oomph in the form of some wind and some rain with a pretty active jet stream there. Southern Ocean, of course, you've got the contrast in cold and warm. That brings the rise to the wind and the energy in the jet stream, so it's more wiggly. Jet stream further north, notice how it's a bit more piecemeal. That is the case in the summer, but a couple of things to point out. These big N shapes, these big heat domes, upper ridges that are just sitting. That one there, there's been one over parts of Europe, and that particular one there. Notice how you get a bit of a break in the jet stream. You do have energy moving through, and there's actually some energy that's going to dive across parts of Alaska, move across the US, and eventually help to push and buckle the jet stream north over Europe, sending temperatures to near 40 degrees across parts of Europe. Look at that bulge there, with the jet stream running literally across the Arctic because of the way the flow is going. We're getting more warm here, more warm there, so that just makes the whole wiggle of the winds in the jet stream more volatile. They move up and down. Close in view of the northern hemisphere, this is what's driving a lot of it right now. Big swirly, a big vortex of low pressure right across the central parts of the Arctic. That is going to shift down. Remember I talked about some energy diving down here from Alaska. That's going to churn through. You run it through the flow and eventually see how you're going to buckle there by the end of the week into early next week. That could be 40 degrees to parts of not just Spain, even parts of France. Same thing as well to the US. Look at how that really buckles its way north. Speaking of the US, what goes on? Well, it's typical summer weather. We have a bit of a quiet spell as far as the tropics go. A couple of leftovers going away, Bonnie and Derby, they'll just fade away. You've got mostly high pressure, little stall front there across the Carolinas, just sits there, Bermuda high, giving a southeast flow or southwest flow to set off some showers. A system dives out of the Great Lakes with some wet weather, but as it does, a new high comes around, and the flow around the high then puts in that warm sou'easter, and that's the surge. See that red line? That's the surge of warmth later in the week. It could push temperatures to triple digits Fahrenheit, well into perhaps the northern plains, maybe some spots in the Rockies where you're normally talking maybe only 80s, maybe only perhaps upper 20s to 30 for some daytime highs. Big dome of high pressure. Usual story, the big heat dome. There's that system going away, and by the end of the week, what changes? This thing actually grows, and it's a pretty significant number. Very, very high dome of heat, and with that flow around it, these are the temperatures for the week. So you look at that white, these are triple digits, and triple digits across, say, Texas in the summer, pretty typical. But watch where the white goes, and you can see it already extending those 90s and close to 100 up into, say, places like Nebraska. But we've got a bit of a surge. The high will then redevelop. That will then take this heat here late week. Look at that. Triple digit heat going up into Montana, parts of South Dakota. That's off the scale. Look at that, 110 perhaps for parts of central South Dakota. Just well off the scale, where you should only be seeing maybe sort of mid-80s. That is it. To Europe, I mentioned the heat here. An upper low, that will just churn off some showers there across eastern parts of the continent. Further west, we've got a big ridge, but remember there's going to be another one coming in later in the week. That will slide its way through because the jet stream just helps to buckle it and push through. And you can see what I mean when you look at the actual pressure map there. That high will build through, and look at this with the temperatures too as this thing runs its way through the course of the week. Looks quiet, slightly cooler there with lows spinning around across Scandinavia and parts of, say, Poland. That's the green. But check out these temperatures, 30, 40 degrees, and we go late week there, and it just continues to rise and spread in all the way into France, even the British Isles. Another warm up here by the end of the week too. Looking across much of the Indian Ocean, it's the monsoon. Very, very busy for this time of year. Typical sort of thing. You've got the big upper ridge, you've got the flow like that in the upper levels, southwest winds. That is India, that is Southeast Asia, really coming to life. Rainfall for the week. This is where we've got all the juice in the atmosphere at the time over the planet. Parts of India, parts of Malaysia, they'll easily be seeing 20 to, say, 30 centimetres of rain over the course of the week, as you would expect, with the moisture just being squeezed out from the monsoon. To Australia, quieter weather, finally some drier weather, big area of high pressure will shift the unsettled weather into the Tasman Sea. Quite a deep low, moisture from the subtropics, cold energy at upper levels comes into New Zealand, and boom, that's a wound up low, strong to severe gales, snow to some pretty low levels, and another thing works through. That's a cold southerly. It is winter into parts of New Zealand, but check out Australia. A few showers to coastal parts of New South Wales, but otherwise a drier and a much quieter week for them. Rainfall, look at this. Wherever you see purple, that's in excess of 100 millimetres of rain. But for Australia, yes, a little bit round the edges, but it is much quieter and much drier for them. That's the weather for now.